Hey, sports fans, PBNC, Sports Chaos, we're back. It's Halloween weekend, and we got the ghost of Tommy sitting next to me. It's happy hour. I got a little Jameson's going on.
Nice.
All right, PB, you ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right.
Let's jump right in.
Let's go. Our agenda this week, real quick, the 2-minute drill. College football news. Trevor Lawrence is out. Sunshine, if you remember the movie, Revenge of the Titans, he's out. Return of the Titans, he's out. Positive COVID test. We'll talk about that, the implications of football. The Big Ten, 1 week back, already one team is already decimated by COVID, 21 days of quarantine. They had to postpone or cancel this week's game. That's Wisconsin. MLB, the Dodgers won the World Series. But bigger story, were they stupid in the way they handled their pitching staff? We'll talk about Kevin Cash and Justin Turner. I'm sorry. What an idiot. We'll talk about that. Speaking of analytics, oh my God, is Chaim Bloom going to pick a cyber geek? I don't know. We'll talk about the Red Sox manager choices. Oh my God, speaking of manager choices, Tony La Russa, what's he, 90 years old? He's back from the Chicago White Sox. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about our college football picks. We would not have talked about the Clemson BC game, but now that Trevor's out, we're going to talk about that game. It was one of the 4 picks. NFL. Week 7 was a great week after week 6 was such a dud. We'll talk about that. By the way, PB, we'll talk about this. Should you score a touchdown or not score a touchdown? We'll talk about the merits of that in a minute. We'll talk about week 8 down in Miami where PB is. Tua. It's Tua time. We'll see what happens. Are the Pats going to sell off? We'll talk about that and other trade deadline stuff. Are you ready, brother? Let's talk about Major League Baseball. I got to ask you this question. Dodgers won the World Series, a great World Series. It was either Tampa or Dodgers for 2 titles. Remember, Tampa won the NHL. Lakers won the NBA. So LA's one up. But the 2 stories, Kevin Cash pulling Blake Snell in the 5th inning after he's already had 9 Ks, 2 hits. Good move or not good move?
Yeah, he may have been looking ahead to Game 7, right? I can still maybe use him for an inning or 2 if I need to close out a Game 7. Tampa Bay does weird stuff with their pitching staff. They're the ones who 2 or 3 years ago invented the opener, right? So sometimes they overthink things. They really do.
They have a rule. No pitcher faces a batter 3 times in a game. And they succumb to that rule, and they blew the game. Blake Snell, everybody you talk to that's been around baseball says he should have kept on pitching. I don't get it. We'll see what happens. I'm afraid what's going to happen. We'll talk about the Red Sox in a minute because he comes from the Chaim Bloom tree who believes in that theory. The other story is Justin Turner. COVID-19 test comes positive in the 8th inning. They yank him out of the game. He goes into the clubhouse, but then he runs out for the celebration. He had a mask on originally. He yanked it off to take pictures. Stupid move or not?
Yeah, definitely.
PB, I'm 100% behind you. Suspension next year?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta follow the rules. I mean, they're trying to make the league happen. They're trying to do good things, and you gotta suck it up and just play by the rules.
He should get what all the PED guys get in the first time they get guilty. At least 20 games. All right. We're going to talk about this for a minute. The Red Sox are about to hire another manager. And I'm so afraid after what Tampa Bay has done, they got to the World Series. Chaim Bloom was the father of that tree. Are they going to hire a cyber geek, you think?
There's a chance they may.
PB, I'm afraid of this. Here's the interview. The candidate walks in. Tell us about your success. I was the valedictorian in my high school class. I went to college. I took stats 1, 2, 3, and 4 every year. I got a 4.0. I took computer science classes every year. I got a 4.0. Oh, and I played Little League to 8th grade. Chaim Bloom, you're hired!
Cybermetrics. It's become such a data-driven game,
Do you like watching that?
No, not at all.
I don't either. Speaking of data-driven games, Tony La Russa was at one point in time considered to be a data guy. He's 76 years old. Chicago White Sox, the first team he ever managed back in the 30s, I think it was. The 70s. He's back now managing them. The last time he managed the team was in 2011. He won the World Series with the Cardinals. Has the game passed him by, do you think?
Well, if it's all about the cyber metrics, maybe not. We'll see how management style he brings to the table after being out for a while.
All right, we'll see. As an older guy, I would appreciate he could be successful. I'm afraid that he can't handle the tools. All right, let's get into college football. This Trevor Lawrence thing is really wild. So he tests positive. He took the test Wednesday, correct? He tested. The results came back on Thursday. The ACC has a policy. When you have your first symptoms, you must quarantine for 10 days and you can't play or practice. So there's a little loophole there, Lawyer Paul. When was the first day of symptoms? Was it Wednesday? Was it Tuesday? Was it Monday?
Well, that hasn't been disclosed or declared at this point. So all they have is.
Why is that important?
Well, because it bleeds into the following week. That's why it's important.
And who do they play?
But remember, you can be positive and be asymptomatic. So yeah, and they play Notre Dame the following week. So they got a couple, decent games coming up here with Boston College and Notre Dame. If they want to keep their number one ranking, they're going to have to beat these teams pretty good. Well, they're going to have to beat BC pretty good. They're going to have to beat Notre Dame because Notre Dame's going to be potentially the 3 seed, right, going into that. It'll be a 1 versus 3. So, it just has huge implications on Clemson's. I think either way, they're going to be safe in terms of making the CFP, but they may not be a number 1 seed when this is all said and done.
So the big news is, though, when did he first cough and sniffle? Did he sniffle on Tuesday? Did he sniffle on Monday? Did he sniffle on Wednesday? If he sniffled on Wednesday, he won't play next week. If he sniffled on Tuesday, the doctor writes it in a notebook and says, I heard Trevor sniffle on Tuesday. 10 days is up on Friday. He plays against Notre Dame. Now, contrary to that, you got the Big Ten. They have a 21-day policy. Why is that important? Last week, Wisconsin, who had a dominating win. Next day, their quarterback, he tests positive. The backup quarterback, and by the way, the quarterback that started is already number 2 because the starter's on injured list. So now he's out, his backup's out, the head coach is out. They cancel the game because they don't postpone him in the Big Ten. We talked about this last week, right? Theoretically, those guys can't be back. 21 days means they're going to miss 2 games at least, correct?
Yeah, right.
Is that policy fair for the Big Ten, 21 days versus the ACC with only 10?
Yeah, which it more supports our theory that a Big Ten team's not going to make the CFP this year.
You're loving it. PB is loving the COVID thing. It's going to kill the Big Ten. And you know what? I'm jumping on this bandwagon. I'm not a Big Ten fan. PB, I'm riding your coattails, brother. Oh, man. All right. So let's get into the picks this week. We're going to pick 2 Big 12 teams. People will ask, Z, why? They suck. Because I love the Big 12. They need one chance to get in. I don't think they have the horses. We'll talk about it. So let's get right into it, PB. The first one we'll talk about, Texas, going out to number 6, Oklahoma State, not my OU. Oklahoma State's favored by 3.5. What do you think here? Cowboys versus the Cowboys.
Yeah. Texas has been up and down this year. They can score some points. And I think they're going to hang in there with OK State. I still think OK State's a little bit on the overrated side. I know they're ranked number 6 in the country. They won last week. They didn't move up any spots because of that win. You're giving me 3.5 with the Longhorns. I'll take the points with Texas in this one.
I'm with you, Texas as well. All right. Next one I got, another Big 12. Number 16, K-State, way overrated. Goes to West Virginia, Mountain Mamas. West Virginia's favored by 4. Go figure that one. Who do you like there?
Well, I mean, K-State, you're saying they're way overrated, but they won at Oklahoma, right? They won at TCU. They beat Texas Tech. They beat Kansas. I mean, they've won some decent games against some decent teams, and you're giving me points with them. And I'm going to go on the opposite side and say West Virginia might be a little bit on the overrated side. So I'll take the points once again here with the road team. I'm going to go K-State.
Ooh, all right. I got West Virginia. All right. The big one of the only ranked teams we're picking this week, number 3 Ohio State's a 12.5-point favorite. They go into number 18 Penn State, who lost in a horrible fashion last week to IU, Indiana. It would be the whiteout game normally, but it's the COVID situation. No fans in the stands, so 107,000 people dressed in white at night will not be there. Who do you like?
Well, I mean, Penn State obviously blew that game against Indiana last week. That could be a rude awakening for them, and they might come out strong here. Ohio State looked strong. It was close at the beginning against Nebraska. They were hanging in there for the first quarter and a half. Ohio State outscored them 28-3 in the second half alone in that game. So Ohio State's good. I mean, they're a great team. They're the only Big Ten team, I think, that can even potentially even sniff that CFP, although I don't think they're going to make it. And in order to do so, they gotta win this game and win it big. So I'm going to lay the 12.5 and take Ohio State.
Oh, I thought for sure you'd go the other way. I'm laying the points, too. I got Ohio State as well. All right. BC Clemson. We would not pick this game normally because Clemson is favored by 31, but we already talked about the Trevor situation. The spread's down to 24, but you know what? We're keeping it 31 because that's when I wrote my notes. Who do you like here against the spread?
Well, that's 24. I mean, realistically, though, the spread's 24. So, I mean, you know, I think Trevor seems like he's worth more than 7 points, but I think that speaks to the strength of the team. If you look at Vegas, only dropping the line by 7 after losing Trevor tells me that Vegas thinks this is a great all-around team. They can do it all, offensively, defensively, in the trenches, skill players, everything. So, no Trevor, you know what? Clemson will run the ball over them. They'll throw when they have to throw. Their defense will stymie BC, and I think they cover the 24 spread. Now, are they going to cover the 31 spread? I don't know. If you're going to use 31, we might have to split this one way or the other, but I'm going to take Clemson, but I'm taking them with a 24-point spread.
I laid my bet on 31 with my bookie 2 days ago. That's all I know.
All right.
So I get BC at 31.
All right. Okay, we both could win that one.
All right, we'll see what happens. All right, let's get into the NFL. Last weekend, we talked about it. Week 6 was horrible. Week 7 was unbelievable. Steelers beat the Titans in a close game, but I don't think it was really that close. I thought the Steelers dominated them all game long. Other than Big Ben threw 3 picks. Cards beat the Seahawks. I believe you picked that. I cannot believe that happened. By the way, the player of the year, DK Metcalf, what did he do? Ran a guy down from 108 yards behind?
That was a great play.
And then the worst call of the season when DK scored in overtime, that little touch foul got called for a holding, delegated a penalty, and Arizona won. So it was interesting. By the way, the Lions beat the Falcons in what is going to be most unbelievable fashion. Matty Ice was heard on NFL Network this week as saying to the running back, Todd Gurley, fall down, don't score. What did Gurley do?
He scored.
That's the day after it happened against Penn State and Indiana when Penn State said the same thing. Anything else from last week that you were, intrigued by?
Well, I was unintrigued by the Patriots' performance against San Francisco. That was just a mess. And
I'm going to bring it up.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen there in New England, but that was certainly disheartening as a Patriots fan.
All right. Hey, by the way, Baker had a big comeback game, 5 touchdowns after OBJ got knocked out. Are the Browns better off without OBJ?
They could be, just because of his overall, presence and attitude. So we'll see. We're going to talk about Cleveland right now playing Las Vegas, right?
Let's get into that, brother. Las Vegas goes to Cleveland. Who do you like in this game?
Yeah. Well, here we go. Let's get into our pick six. I think the Bengals, the Browns have beaten the Bengals twice. They beat Dallas and they beat Washington. They've beaten four teams that basically are nothing, like potential first overall pick teams. They did have a win against Indy. I'll give them that one. And then their two other games, Pittsburgh and Baltimore, they were blown out like 38-7 or something in both those games. So they're not as good as people think. Their 5-2 record is a little bit of a facade. And I think Vegas can go up there as a 500 team right now, needing to win this one, goes up and beats Cleveland. I'm going to take the Raiders to win that game. And Vegas knows it too. Vegas only has Cleveland as a 2.5-point favorite, so it's basically a pick.
That's a good point. I'm going to still take Cleveland. I like Baker Mayfield. I think he's better off without OBJ. Hard to say, but I think he is. All right. New Orleans. They go to Chi-Town. They go to play Chicago. No one's paying attention to New Orleans right now because of all the noise from Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. Who do you like here?
Yeah, I've been saying all year long here, the Bears aren't as good as their record. I'm going to stand by that. They played a real team last week, and they couldn't do anything, basically. So in this game, New Orleans goes on the road, and they take down the Bears. So I'm taking New Orleans.
I'm with you. I got New Orleans. All right. San Fran goes to Seattle. Seattle lost last week to that Arizona team that you believe will be in the playoffs. They're the real deal. San Fran blew out the Patriots, but who knows? That may be not a big deal anymore. Who do you like?
So I picked Arizona last week to beat Seattle, so that was a good call. I do think Seattle's still a 12-4 team. I think this is going to be a bounce back game for them. So at home, I will take the Seahawks over the Niners.
I am so tempted. I think San Fran has figured it out, but I believe Russell Wilson figures it out. Seattle wins. All right. New England goes to Buffalo. Believe it or not, as bad as New England looks, they have a chance to be within one game of the lead of the AFC East if they win this game. Who do you like?
Yeah. Well, Buffalo barely beat the Jets last week. The 2 weeks before that, they were blown out by Tennessee, blown out by Kansas City. I'm gonna, and it's a 4-2 Buffalo team, a 2-4 Patriots team, or a 5-2 Buffalo team, whatever they are. And the game's on the road. It's in Buffalo, but yet Vegas knows something here too because the line's only 4. Buffalo's only favored by 4 points. I think Belichick has a way of getting at these young quarterbacks, and I think he figures out a game plan to get after Josh Allen, lock down the passing game, and I just have this weird feeling this is one of those games that the Patriots are going to win and Buffalo's going to drop it. I really do. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Patriots fan. I just have this weird feeling that this is a week that Buffalo's not going to show up and the Patriots are going to beat them.
So, PB, I was ready to get on that bandwagon because I still think Cam Newton has something in his tank. But let me read you a couple stats real quick. Bill Belichick coaching the Patriots without Tom Brady starting as his quarterback is 20-23. Bill Belichick in his only other head coaching stint at Cleveland is 36-44. Bill Belichick all time is 56-67. When you do the math, that is a .455 winning percentage, less than 500. I don't know. Is that GOAT status?
That's
Brady's not playing for him. I'm taking Buffalo. All right, moving on.
All right.
Let's go. The Rams go down to Miami. They play your new team. Tua starts for Fitz. What do you like here?
Yeah, I mean, I was pointing this out earlier in our texts back and forth today that Miami right now has the third best point differential in the entire AFC. And I mean that's a pretty bold statement considering you got teams like Kansas City, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Tennessee. So I think there's only 2 teams in the entire NFC that have a higher point differential than the Miami Dolphins.
Where you going with this?
So, I think I always mention their losses are not that bad. They barely lost to good teams. But you know what? The Rams are playing. They're playing great. They're playing good football. And Tua, until he shows me that he can do it, I can't take them against a good team like the Rams. So I'm siding with the Rams. This is the one game I want to so bad take Miami. I really, really do. But I'm gonna go with the Rams.
Tua, meet Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald meet Tua. Boom! Aaron Donald and the Rams win that game easily. All right. The big one of the weekend. Pittsburgh goes to Baltimore. This could be an AFC Championship preview. What do you like here? Who do you like?
Yeah, Baltimore's undefeated, I believe, at home this year.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Baltimore's undefeated on the road this year. That's what I meant. And it's at Pittsburgh. It's at Pittsburgh, right?
No, it's at Baltimore.
Oh, it's at Baltimore.
Yes.
It's at Baltimore. Sorry. This is a tough game. This is really tough game. I think right now there's no more undefeated teams after except for Pittsburgh, right? Because Tennessee lost last week to Pittsburgh. Seattle lost last week. After this week, there will be no undefeated teams left in the NFL. I think Baltimore will figure out a way to beat the Steelers, taking the Ravens.
Woo! All right. I'm with you. I've been a big Pittsburgh fan. I'm not a Pittsburgh fan, but I'm a fan of what they do. Mike Tomlin's a pretty good coach, in my opinion. But Baltimore coming off a bye. I think Lamar Jackson is getting sick of the critics giving him a hard time because he's not playing up to those standards from last year. And they win this game. Close game. Less than 3 points, I think.
All right, so the only one we're different on then is that Cleveland-Vegas game, huh?
Yes.
You're putting your week in the hands of the Cleveland Browns. Okay, we'll see.
All right, fans. PB&C Sports Chaos. We'll be back next weekend. We got nothing else to talk about but football next week. So tune in next week for our show. PB signing off. Have a good weekend.
Yep. All right, you too, man.